Hello and welcome to Chapter 5, Video 2. This is Ms. Moreland and we're going to be talking about slope-intercept and point-slope form. So we're going to first introduce you to three forms of an equation. We're going to be working with mostly two of them today. Slope-intercept is the one you're used to, and it's y equals mx plus b. M is your slope, b is your y-intercept. Okay, and that's kind of what we talked about in Video 1. And then point-slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. M is still your slope, but the y1 and the x1 is just an ordered pair, and this is just a point on the line. And this form will come in handy when we don't know the y-intercept. And our last form is standard form. I just want you to get it down today. It's ax plus by equals c. And you'll see this form, you saw it on your benchmark where you had to solve for y. A and b just can't be 0. We're going to talk about that form a little bit later. We're going to jump right into finding the equation in slope-intercept form though, since you guys are pretty used to it. So I'm going to start with that red line. We talked about this having a slope of 0 and a y-intercept here. This is not on your notes. You're just watching this example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is a y equals 7 line. It has a 0 slope, so you could write y equals 0x plus 7, but the best way to write it is y equals 7. We're going to kind of go on the opposite spectrum here. We see this green line, and that has an undefined slope. And remember in the first chapter we talked about this being an x equals line, because notice it does not have a y-intercept. So we're just going to be looking where it crosses the x-axis here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's an x equals 8 line. That's not really in the form we're studying, but I want to remind you the difference between a y equals and an x equals. A y equals is horizontal, and x equals is vertical. Now let's take a look at this blue line. I believe this is the same as your first video, and we've got a slope of 1 over negative 3, and our y-intercept here, negative 1/3 for our slope. Our y-intercept negative is negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 6. So the equation would be y equals negative 1/3 x minus 6. Because we have to use mx plus b. We have our slope and our y-intercept. We just plug it in. This last one is the same. We have a y-intercept of 3 and a slope, I believe, of up 2 over 1. So 2 over 1, same thing as 2. So our equation for that line would be, I take the mx plus b and I say, hey, I know my slope m is 2. And I know my y-intercept is 3. So my equation would be 2x plus 3. Right, these next examples, I want you to pause the video and see if you can write the equation. All right, so I've written all the answers in there. If you look at, for example, the red line, I found the slope of up 3 over negative 2, and the y-intercept is up here at positive 1. So my m is negative 3 over 2. My b is 1, so I write negative 3/2 x plus 1. If you look at this blue line here, we got a slope of 0 and a y-intercept of negative 4. So that's just going to be a y equals negative 4 line. Remember, horizontal is y equals. The pink line has a slope of negative 1/7 and a y-intercept of negative 1. So it's y equals negative 1/7 x minus 1. The last one, the green one, has a y-intercept of 8, and I found the slope you can see of 2 over 1. So it's 2x plus 8. Now we're going to practice graphing and writing equations from words. So this one says, write an equation in slope-intercept form given the following graph. So I have a slope of 4, that's my m. I have a y-intercept of negative 2, that's my b. So when I see the equation y equals mx plus b, I know that m in this case is 4. So I write 4x, and I know that b is negative 2. So there's my equation. So now I'm going to go down here and graph that. I start at my y-intercept, which is negative 2. I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1. Whenever you get a whole number, you're going to graph it, put a 1 on the bottom. Oops. So there's the best line I can draw on my contraption that I'm using to write. So the next one says I have a slope of negative 1/2 and a y-intercept of 5. So this is my m, this is my b. So I have y equals negative 1/2 x plus 5. Again, when I go to graph, I start at the y-intercept, which is 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops. 5. That's where I start. And to count a negative 1/2, I go down 1 and then right 2. Down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. And there is my line. The last one, slope of 2 and goes to the point 4, 1. Here's a good one to talk about. Remember I went back to point slope and said this is a good form to use when I don't know the y-intercept. So I'm going to label this point as x1, y1. When I go to write the equation, I'm going to write y minus my y1 value of 1 equals my slope of 2 times x minus my x1 value of -4. Notice two negatives make a positive, so there's my final equation for this one, and it's in point slope form. Right now, but it asked me to write it in slope-intercept form, so you guys know you can distribute this. So I'm left with y minus 1 equals 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 4 is 8. And when I'm solving, I want to get a y equals, so I'm going to add 1, and I can add the 1 to the 8 over here. So I'm left with y equals 2x plus 9. So now I can graph this one by going, starting at 9, just up here. If you go off your graph, you can either count up and approximate, or it's the same as going down 2 and over 1, because that's double negatives make a positive, so there's what that line would look like. Right, so now we're going to practice writing them in point slope form, then slope intercept. For the sake of time, we're going to skip graphing these, so just ignore the graph paper on your notes. We're just going to write them in point slope form and then convert them to slope intercept form. So the first one, slope intercept is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So I'm going to label my point as x1, y1, and I know this is my slope, m. So I'm going to write y minus -2, because that's my y1, equals my slope, which is 2/3, times x minus 6. Two negatives turn into a positive. Then I distribute. So I'm left with, hold on 1 second. Sorry, I just had to give myself some more space. So now I'm left with y plus 2 equals 2/3 times x. That's just 2/3 x. Now let's talk about what 2/3 times 6 is. I can put a 6 over 1 here and multiply the top and the bottom. So that's the same thing as, side note over here, this is the same thing as 12 over 3, which is 4. So I know that this whole thing right here is really the same as 4. So I get y plus 2 equals 2/3 x minus 4. So I subtract the 2 from both sides. My final equation is y equals 2/3 x minus 6, because -4 minus 2 is 6. Right, now we're going to move on to our last problem like this. Hold on while I move. Right, so for this last one, it says it goes through 2 points. So see if you can pause the video and first find the slope of this, and then write the equation in point slope and convert it. So pause the video. So I need you to find the slope, point slope, and then finally slope intercept form. So the slope, remember, we take our y's over our x's. So we're going to do 11 minus 7 over -1 minus 3. 11 minus 7 is 4. -1 minus 3 is -4. So I get a slope of -1. Next, I'm going to pick one of these 2 points. So I'm going to pick this one. Okay, and I'm going to label it as x1, y1. So when I go to write my point slope, I have y minus 7, because that's my y value, equals my slope of -1 times x minus my x value of 3. There's my point slope equation. And the last step is always to distribute your slope through. So -1 times x is -1, is -1x, -1 times 3 turns into a positive. Then the last step is to always add over that y value of 7. So y is going to equal -1x plus 10, and that's my final equation. Okay, we're going to skip the word problem at the end, so we'll go through that in class. And do your on your own examples right below the word problem, and I'll see you tomorrow in class.